Muzammil, Tariq, Gerd. So we are here onto the topic is called wait. We are here. We are talking about introduction and initial configuration. This topic. Remember, Muzammil, Kansha, Tariq, Richard. We are
Yes,
here
sir.
on introduction and initial configuration. Okay. So here in introduction and initial configuration, we are completed how to configure our physical interface, right? How to configure our physical interface and how to work with our logical interface. Now I think it's complete. Some points, okay, I think VLAN interface, how to create VLAN interfaces and how to create loopback interface. Let's continue this interface configuration again. So now, like other vendor like Palo Alto, Checkpoint Firewall Box, or Cisco Firewall Threat Defense, like other vendor, okay, we can create our other logical interface here. For example, I'm talking about next logical interface option. You can go to the network, you can click on interface, you can click on create new, you can click on interface. And today I'm talking about this option is called aggregate interface. Aggregate interface. Richard, you can disconnect and connect again with audio. Richard. Richard, you can disconnect and connect again. Please check Zoom chat window. Richard, disconnect and connect again with audio. Okay, everyone. So we can discuss now how to create aggregate interface, and how to work with redundant interface. So what is aggregate? Mozambique, remember in CCNA classes, Akanksha, Tarek,
Yeah,
in
yeah, it's an
CCNA classes.
ether channel.
Thank you so much. Each channel we have a concept, right? Akanksha, can you help me? We have two type of ether channel, right? Akanksha, it's
Yes,
called
sir.
L3 ether channel, right? And L2 ether channel. Now, L3 and L2 ether channel. Right now we are working with L3 device, so our focus is on L3 ether channel, or you can say port channel. So remember in ether channel concept, we have a protocol is called PAGP and LSCP. Tariq, any idea? PAGP, Akansha, Muzammil.
Yes.
Okay, so in CCNA, if you remember, guys, we have two protocols. It's called PAGP and LSCP in ether channel configuration. You can also use mode. Okay, so I'm not telling you the story, okay, because story you already do know about from CCNA classes. Here I'm telling you how to configure ether channel on fortinet device. Okay, so what is ether channel? We can in ether channel we can aggregate. For example, here we have a device on, we have multiple data interfaces. For example, if you want to aggregate the bandwidth of these links and want to create a single logical port, so yes, you can do this on fortinet firewall box also. For example, here we have a uh, port 5, port 6, and port 7. On each port, we have a speed 1 Gbps, 1 Gbps, and 1 Gbps. So you can combine these three interfaces. You can aggregate the bandwidth of these link and create a single logical port with 3 GB speed. Okay, so that is the good thing. Same concept we can configure on Fortinet firewall box. How to create? See, you can give a name for this ether channel. In Fortinet, this is called ether channel. In Cisco, this is called port channel. So ether 11, just a name. And yes, I have interfaces, for example, port number 7, port type, we can select aggregate. So we have a port is called port number 7 and 8. So I'm trying to combine these two interfaces. So it's a L3 ether channel. So we need to configure IP address because it's a L3 ether channels where we can configure IP address. So for example, 20.20. Or 30.30.30.1/24 ping service, click on OK. So this is the option, how to create a ether channel on Fortinet firewall box. See, ether 11, it's a name, and this is what type. We are using aggregate option. In Fortinet, you can say aggregate interface. Member of this aggregate interface is port number 7 and port number 8, and we are using IP address here and ping service. Akanksha clear? Muzammil,
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Tariq, Richard.
Yes, sir.
Now we can discuss next option. This call you can click on create new, you can click on interface, and we can talk about our next logical interface option is called a redundant interface. So there is a difference. There is a difference in between aggregate interface and redundant interface. See, in aggregate interface, what we are doing? In aggregate interface, we are trying to aggregate the bandwidth, right? Bandwidth of these links. And we can create a single logical port with 3 GB speed. Okay, here what is called redundant interface. Here we are trying to combine. Yes, we have the same option. We can combine multiple interfaces, but the concept is different. See, for example, there is a scenario. I'm telling you the scenario where we can use this interface. This called redundant interface, where we can use. So for example, we are using a port, for example, port number 4, for example. So port number 4 is configured properly. Everything is configured, IP address, alias, services, everything working fine. And this port is connected with a switch, for example. So everything is working fine. Traffic is traveling via this port, no problem. Now, in case if there is something problem in this port, I don't know, but there's a problem in this port. This port is not working properly. Then what you can do? You can, in real scenario, what you can do? You can unplug this cable with port number 4 and plug into the another port. For example, you have port number 3. So you can unplug and connect with the port number 3. You need to configure same configuration which you are using here. Same configuration you can configure on port number 3. Everything you need to configure manually. It's a static option. You need to configure. You can connect you can connect the cable. You can configure IP address, alias, services, everything. It's a manual task. So here we have a solution. What we can do, we can combine these two interfaces. For example, I have two interfaces. I can combine these two interfaces, but I'm not aggregating bandwidth here. I'm not aggregating any bandwidth. Okay. Speed is again, if I'm trying to combine these two interfaces, speed is again 1 Gbps only. So you can combine these two interfaces. Okay, you can create a redundant interface. So in this scenario, this this interface is acting as an active port, and this interface is acting as a passive port. Your traffic is traveling via active port. What you can do, you can combine these two interfaces and create a redundant link. You can configure IP address onto this redundant link. Now, one port is active, second port is passive, so traffic is traveling via active port. If FT ports down or there is some problem, no problem. This port number 3 is now, this port is acting as an active, and now this traffic is traveling via this port. You can say this is called interface level redundancy. If one port is down, other port will take the responsibility. Clear my point? Richard, where we can use?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Tariq, Akanksha, Muzammil.
Yes, sir. Clear.
I'm telling you how to create a redundant interface. What? Red one, just a name. And we have two interfaces. Wait, let's use our just option type option. So I'm trying to combine port number 4 and port number 5. Now IP address we are using, for example, 40.40.40.1. You can configure IP address onto this. Wait, I think I'm using IP address. So 33.33.33.1/24. Ping service, click on. So this is called what? Redundant interface. This is called your loopback interface, ether channel interface, and you can configure your physical interface. I hope this introduction and initial configuration topic is clear, or you can say, I hope it's clear how to work with interfaces. This first topic. Mozambique, any question?
Yeah,
Yes. Yes, Tariq.
how this
Mhm.
the IP that you assign, how this is assigned to port number 4. We didn't select this port number 4.
Port
We just
number
select 4
4.
and 5. Yeah, how
Yes.
this
Now,
assigned to
now,
4.
now you can see, you can configure. Now you, in case if you are trying to configure, see now these two ports, they are participating into this redundant interface. So you can configure IP address onto this interface. Mozambique. Okay.
Yeah,
Now
but
you
it's
cannot
showing here
configure
that
IP address on port number 4 and port number 5.
so logically this IP address is assigned to the RD red one. So
Yes,
what
red one exactly. And in between
red
these two
one?
interface, one port is acting as an active, second port is acting as a passive.
Okay.
So if this
So
link
the
is
anyway,
down, no problem. We have IP address onto this redundant link. We have another
okay.
port, and this port is acting as a passive. If this port is down, so this second port will become Mozambique. It's a common topic for Cisco ASA, okay, for
Okay,
Palo
okay.
Alto, for checkpoint, okay. Mozambique,
Sure.
Akansha, Tariq, Richard.
Yes. So,
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. Any question, guys?
yes. So,
Mhm.
yes. Just wanted to just for a confirmation. So basically, which is the redundant interface, which is travel like over one interface at a
Exactly.
time,
Yes,
and
exactly.
the difference for the aggregation, it travel over all the physical interfaces.
Yes,
Right? Correct?
yes.
Okay.
And we are aggregating the band. Here we are aggregating the band. That is the difference. In
Mhm.
redundant, we are not aggregating band. Again, the speed is only 1 Gbps.
Yes.
In ether channel,
Correct.
speed is what? We have two ports, its speed is 2 Gbps.
Okay.
Clear now?
Got it. Yes. Yes. Which is with the aggregation, which is increase the bandwidth. That's
Yes.
why you're right. Okay. Got it. Got it. Thanks.
Akansha, Richard, any question?
No, sir, clear.
Okay, now we can focus on our next topic is called routing concept. Let's work with routing concept, how to configure routing option on Fortinet firewall ports. So guys, I'm not telling you the storyline, okay? What is static routing? What is default routing? You already know this story from CCNA routing and switching. I'm telling you how to configure it, how to configure your routing concept on Fortinet firewall ports. Please wait 2 minutes. I'm creating topology for routing configuration. Please wait. So I'm creating a small topology for our routing discussion. We can configure routing on 48 firewall box. Yes, it's a next generation firewall box. So we need to focus on next generation firewall feature. But in case like other vendor, like Palo Alto, Cisco, Checkpoint, like other vendor, you can configure routing option here. You can configure. So I'm creating a small topology. Wait. So 148 firewall box, we are using 148 firewall box. Port number 1 we are using as a management port. Now port number 2 is connected with the inside router, and port number 3 we are using for WAN side router. So we have a small topology for this routing practice. In LAN side, I'm using 200.200.200.0/24 port IP address. On WAN side, 10.1.23.0. So on R1, I'm creating a loopback for routes. 1.1.1.1/32 and on R2 2.2.2/32. So let's start our configuration. First, I'm doing basic configuration first. It means IP address configuration. After that, we can go on to the routing option. So static, default, and dynamic routing. In dynamic routing, we can focus on RIP implementation, OSPF implementation, and BGP protocol. Let's configure IP address first as per our topology. Please wait. So I'm configuring IP address first onto this inside router. You can see the topology. As per our topology, I'm using IP address on fast Ethernet 0/0. IP address is 200, 200, 200.10 I'm using. Mask, no shutdown, and I'm creating a loop back on R1, 1.1.1, 255.255.255.0 slash, not 0, 25/32. So physical IP address on physical interface, IP address on loop back interface. Let's go on to R2 outside router. So IP address 10.1.23.10 mask, no shutdown, loop back 2.2.2.2/32 show IP interface. Let's go on to the fortinet firewall box. IP address I'm configuring through CLI, through console. IP address I'm configuring on port number 1 through console, through CLI. Rest we can do with graphical page. So port number 1 is a management port. Wait. Config system interface, edit port number 1, set mode static, 192.168.255.190/24. And I'm trying to allow services HTTP, HTTPS, ping, and SSH. So let's configure IP address on port number 2 and port number 3 as per our topology. See port number 2 and port number 3. So network tab, click on interface. Port number 2 we are using as a LAN port. So alias I'm using for port number 2 is called LAN. And IP address what? 200.200.1/24 ping service. Port number 3 as a WAN port. So alias I'm using WAN. IP address as per our topology 23.1/24 ping service. Click on it. Any problem in basic configuration, everyone? Muzammil, Richard, okay,
No.
Tarek,
No.
Kansha.
Fine.
Okay. So now
yes.
let's focus on our routing configuration. So remember our static and default routing. What is static and default routing concept? Akansha, what is static routing? Akansha, what is static routing? Akansha, Richard, what is static routing? Richard, can you hear me,
It's a
anyone?
directly
Hello, sir.
connected.
Are you getting me?
Yes. Okay, yes, Akansha, please tell me what is
Static
static.
routing we have to configure manually.
We need to configure manually. Okay, perfect. So what we have, I'm trying to configure static and default routing onto this FortiGate firewall box. So for LAN side, I'm configuring static routing, and for outside router, I'm trying to configure default routing. This is our task right now. So for routing configuration, you can click on network tab, this tab, network tab, and you can see guys, we have an option for static routing. With this tab, you can configure your static and default routing configuration. And see these options. These options are called advanced routing. Advanced routing. So you can configure advanced routing, RIP, OSPF, and BGP, and with this option, you can configure static and default. Okay, in case, for example, if these advanced routing options, if these options are not available on your graphical page, in case, for example, so you can go into the system, click on feature visibility. So for example, see what we have, feature visibility. Here we have option. If advanced routing concept is disabled, so if you click on network, you can only configure static routing. There's no option available for RIP, OSPF, and BGP. So in case if you're not getting these options, you can go into the system, click on feature visibility, and you have to enable this advanced routing feature. You can click on apply. Now you can verify again. You can click on network, and you can see, you can verify here. We have static routing and what advanced routing option. Our focus is on right now static and default routing. So you can click on static route, and here you can create your entry. If you want to verify your routing table, then so you can go onto the fortinet firewall box and command is get router info routing table all. So you can use this command. Remember in Cisco, we have a command is called show IP route. In Palo Alto, show routing route. In checkpoint Palo box, show route. Right here in FortiGate command to verify routing table, get router info routing table all. So right now we have only directly connected interface information. 10.1.23, 200 network, and this is your management tool. So you have only directly connected interfaces information. So we are trying to configure static and default routing. I told you for LAN side, we are configuring static routing, Tariq, and for outside, we are configuring default routing. So let's configure. You can go onto the, you can click on static route, and if you click on create new, you are getting these options. Let's see these options. So with this option, yes, I can configure static and default routing, no problem. But this option is only for IP version 4. In case if I'm trying to configure static and default routing in IP version 6, then so this option is not available. So what you can do, you can click on system, you can go into the feature visibility, you can enable IP version 6 next generation IP. You can click on apply. You can click on apply, and now you can verify here. You can go into the network, you can click on static route, and now if you click here, you have two options: IP version 4 static route and IP version 6 static route. Our focus is on IP version 4 static route, but I can tell you how to configure static and default routing in IP version 6. Sure, I will tell you. But let's focus on IP version 4 static and default routing. So you can click here. I'm trying to create my first entry, so we are getting an option what new static. We are creating our new static route entry. So he's asking for destination. So in destination, we have two options. You can go with the subnet option, or you can go with the internet services. So let's go with the subnet option first. Subnet means what? If you know about destination subnet, so you can define here. Syntax is same. If you remember CSI, syntax is same. It's asking for destination, then mask, then next hop or gateway IP address, and exit interface. Same syntax we have. It's asking for subnet. So subnet, for example, I'm trying to configure static routing, and here on R1 side, yes, we have a route is called 1.1.1. So remote destination is 1.1.1/32, and gateway is 200.200.200.10. Yes, you can verify here. You can verify onto this router, inside router. I'm using what? You can verify 200, 210. So I'm configuring static routing towards this router. So next hop IP is 200, 200, 210. I'm using. So you can define here what? You can define next hop IP, and exit interface is what? LAN port number 2. Now here we have administrative distance. So remember, administrative distance in static and default routing, least value is more preferred, right? Everyone? Tariq, any question?
Yes, and Cisco is 0, I believe, right? Static route, and I guess
No,
Palo Alto
1.
is 10.
In Cisco, no, Tariq. In
One-
Cisco,
one
1.
now.
It's 1.
Yeah,
It's a 1.
1, correct.
Okay, in 14 firewall box, we have AD value is 10, everyone, 10. Now, in case if you want to change, you can change, but default value is in 14 firewall box for static and default routing is 10. What is AD value? Least value is more preferred. So now you can click on OK. And this is my first entry. What we have? Destination information, gateway information, exit interface, status is enabled, and administrative distance is 10. Administrative distance is 10. Now I'm getting one more entry because we need to configure default routing towards ISP router. So for default routing syntax, what we have? Any network. What is default routing syntax? Any network, any mask. And next hop IP is 10.1.23.10. And exit interface is port number 3. You can click on OK. And now we have a default route towards ISP. Is that clear, Akansha? Any problem?
Clear,
No, sir. Clear.
Tariq, Muzammil, any
Yeah,
problem?
okay.
clear.
Okay, Richard, any question? Richard, clear for you? Richard, you can unmute your mic or you can type on
I
chat
say clear.
window.
Yeah,
Okay, clear? Okay, okay.
yeah, clear.
So now see, now you can verify guys your routing table information on 14 firewall box. What we have? We have a command to verify routing table information, get router info routing table. So now you can verify this time, yes, we have a static route to go onto this particular destination. You can go via 200, 210. This is your exit interface. AD value is 10. We go on any unknown destination. Yes, we have a value. We have static route with asterisk value is called candidate default. So to go on to this unknown destination, you can go via 10.1.3.2, 23.10. So if you have route in your routing table, so you can verify your connectivity. So execute ping. I'm trying to ping my destination. So 1.1.1. Yes, I'm getting reply. Okay, execute ping is called 2.2.2. Yes, I'm getting reply. Okay. So now we are getting reply. This is what static and default routing configuration on 48 family. Now let's discuss one more information here. For example, in my scenario, in my organization, in case if I'm working with primary and secondary option, for example, we have two ISP connection. One ISP connection is acting as a primary, for example, and second ISP connection is acting as a secondary. 10.1.32.0/24. So now, in case if I have primary and secondary option, let's configure first IP address on port number 4. Wait. Interface, let's go on to the interface and select your port number 3 first. So port number 3 is WAN 1. You can click on OK. And now port number 4 is called WAN 2. WAN to IP address 10.1.32.1/24 ping service. So we have two ISP connection right now. WAN 1 port number 3, WAN 2 port number 2. So now I'm trying to create one more entry. I'm trying to create one more entry for this secondary route. So we have a route for we have entry for unknown destination. You can go via ISP1. Now I'm creating one more entry. You can click on create new. You can click on IP version 4 static route. Again, I'm creating a default route. So to go this unknown destination, you can go via 32.10 and active interface is WAN port number. So please help me, Muzammil, Richard, Akansha, Tariq, please help me guys. If I want to use this route as a secondary, what I can do? If I want to use this route as a secondary, so what we can do in this configuration? Can anyone help me?
Uh, I guess would be the similar.
I think we
similar-
need to change the administrative distance.
Perfect, yes. We can change
Yeah.
our AD value, right everyone? So see, here I'm using what? 15 for example. And remember, as per routing switching concept, what we have, least AD value is more preferred. So to go on to this unknown destination, we have two entry via this side 10.1.23.10 and via this side 10.1.32.10. Via this side we have a AD value is 10 and via this side we have a AD value what? 15. If you verify your routing table, guys, if you verify your routing table, for example, so in routing table we have only best route. We have only best route. Let me show you. So to go on to this unknown destination, you have a single route. You can go via 10.1.23.2. Why we have this route in my routing table? Because it's a routing table. In routing table, you can get only best route information. So we have 10.1.23.10. Now, in case if you want to verify all possible route information, in case all possible, so you can use a command get router info routing table database command. With this command, you can verify all possible route information. See, here we have all possible route for unknown destination. You can go via, see, for unknown destination, go via 10.1.32.10. You can go via 10.1.23.10. See, via this side, we have AD value 10. Via this side, we have AD value 15. So with this command, you can get all possible route information. But these are the possible route. But via this side, we have an AD value 10. So this route is installed into the routing table. Clear my point, Kanja? Tariq, clear?
Clear,
Richard,
sir.
Muzammil.
So yes, in this case means if the users they want to go outside like to any subnet like you have mentioned 0.0. Through port number 3 with AD value of 10. So all the time the traffic will take port number 3. With this the
Exactly,
congestion on the port will
because this route is installed into the routing table. That's why.
yeah it's because
Yes.
we ask it. So what in what situation or scenario port number 4 will be used, because all the times the
Yes,
traffic
yes,
will
yes.
move
I got
through
your
AD
question.
value
See,
10.
I got your question, but that's why I'm using
uh,
primary and secondary option, Muzammil. Traffic is
primary
traveling.
and
Secondary is a backup link, Muzammil.
no,
It's a
okay
backup.
this is a okay this is a backup link, not
Yes, it's a
the
backup. Yes.
not all the time that the
No,
traffic will
we are
be
not using. It's a
segregated on
backup
both the
link.
links.
In case, yes. In case, see, traffic is right now traveling through the primary link. If primary link goes down, then secondary will take the responsibility.
No, means in real means if we see primary and secondary,
Hmm.
we consider that primary traffic and secondary traffic, that primary application traffic will travel to the primary link, and the means
Secondary is
or
a
the
backup.
priority
It's a
traffic.
backup. Secondary is a backup.
Okay, in this scenario, secondary you are taking as a backup.
Yes.
If the primary goes down, then it will take the secondary.
Yes. Secondary route will install into the routing table automatically. Clear? Zamil?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So this is what option for Okay, for primary and secondary. Now, in case, for example, guys, if I'm using same metric, if I have a same metric, for example, then if we have a same AD value on both sides, then both root will install into the routing table. See, both roots install into the routing table, and they will do load balancing. See, both roots are available in routing table. Okay, clear my point? But again, if in case if I cannot change my AD value, for example, now we are using same, so both roots are available in the routing table. So now, in case I cannot change metric value, but I want to go with the primary and secondary option, Tariq, Richard, Kanja. I want to go for the primary and secondary again. I cannot change metric value. Then here we have an option. It's called priority concept. If there is a tie in between administrative distance, then tiebreaker is priority value. You can see, you can click on advanced option and you can go with the priority. What we have in priority? What we have in priority? The lower priority value is more people. So here I'm using, for example, 15 or 10. And this side I'm using what? This side I'm using 25. So now, out, sorry. So this side I'm using what? 25. So, but first always, it will check always what? AD value. If there is a tie in between AD value, it will go and check the priority value. So the root is having least priority value will install into the routing queue. Clear now my point, Yuan, Akansha, Richard, Muzammil, Tariq.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. It's
Okay,
clear.
everyone, please, let's take a break for 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes only. Turn off your mic. Okay, can you hear me, everyone? Kancha, Muzammil, Richard, Tariq,
Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir.
everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's continue. So you can click on create new and you can click on IP version 4 static route. And with this option, you can configure static and default route. So with subnet option, we can define here particular destination IP address, then gateway, and then exit interface. Now we have another option is called internet services. Internet services. So in 14 firewall box, we have internet services information. See, if you click here, right now we have 1,361 internet services. Okay. This firewall box we are using this. It is what? It's a VM firewall box. This firewall box we are using for testing purpose. Okay, so we cannot download latest internet services. Right now we have 1,361. But if you are working in a real scenario right now, if you verify, so this number will increase, okay, day by day. So right now we have internet services, 1,361 internet services information. So these are what internet services. For example, if anyone trying to go Instagram, so if anyone trying to go Facebook, Instagram, I don't know. As a firewall administrator, I don't know what is the IP address on Facebook, Instagram. It's a fortinet firewall box responsibility. He will find the IP address. Your firewall must be connected with FortiGuard server. Your firewall must be connected with the FortiGuard server. The FortiGuard server, he can get an IP address information about Facebook, Instagram. Okay, so if you want to go on Facebook, Instagram, for example, you can go via 10.1.32.10 exit interface port number 4. So either you can go with the destination. If you want to go on particular destination, you can define your destination, or you can use internet services option here. Clear my point, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, so if you have subnet information, you can go with a subnet. If you want to go with internet services, so you can search your internet services. You can select, you can define your gateway and exit interface. So this option is for IP version 4 static and default route. Now let's click here and let's go with the IP version 6. I told you I'm giving you only idea how to configure static and default routing in IP version 6. So if you guys remember IP version 6 format, it has 128 bit. It is in a hexadecimal format, right? Decimal format. So if you remember IP version 6 IP address format, so I'm trying to use here. So destination, for example, 2001:10:45:0/64 and gateway 2001. I'm using this IP address as an example only, guys. Okay, 2001:10:1:56:1 and exit interface is, for example, WAN port number 3. You can click on OK. So like this, you can create your static and default route in IP version 6. Very simple option, okay? So this is what our static and default routing configuration. Now for advanced routing, yes, we can go with the RIP, OSPF and BGP. Let's start our discussion with RIP first. So what is RIP full form? Muzammil, what is RIP?
Routing information protocol.
Routing information protocol. Okay, RIP always work with bandwidth, right, Akansha? RIP always,
Sir.
Mujabil, please wait. Akansha, RIP always work with bandwidth, right?
Yes, sir.
No. Richard, RIP always work with bandwidth, right? It's work with cost, right, Richard? Tariq,
Yes,
RIP,
sir.
RIP work with
Cost.
No, it always work with hop count. Okay,
Yeah, yes,
Count,
Yes, a
yes,
hope
yes.
count, exactly.
exactly.
Yep.
Yes. So RIP
Cost, that's
always
OSPF. Sorry about that.
no problem. So RIP always work with hop count. EIGRP works with bandwidth, and OSPF work with cost. Okay, so let's talk about RIP first. Okay, before RIP configuration, let's delete these configuration now. So I'm trying to configure RIP protocol first onto these routers. Okay, wait, let me delete this link. So I'm trying to configure RIP on R1 and on R2. It's a very simple task, guys. What we can do on Cisco router, remember your configuration in CCNA classes, router RIP version 2 and network 200, 200, 200.0. You can see as per our topology 1.1.1. No auto summary. You can go on to R2. Let's configure RIP here. Router RIP version 2, network 10.1.3.0, and network 2.2.2. No auto summary. Done. Our focus is on Fortinet, how to configure it. So let's go on to the Fortinet firewall box. Let's go on to the Fortinet firewall box. You can click on RIP here and see we have an option for version 1 and version 2. So you can select as per your requirement. So yes, we are using version 2 because version 2 is a classless protocol. It sends update via multicast. We can implement authentication here in version 2. So yes, I'm using version 2. Here you can advertise your network. So as per our topology, we have 200 network, 200 network, and 10.1.23 network. So let's advertise these network in RIP. So 200, 200, 200.0/24 and 10.1.23.0/24. Done. You can click on apply. If you click on apply, you are getting this message: settings saved successfully. Done. Apply. Done. Done. RIP configuration. Let's go into the firewall box. So on firewall box, we can use a command get router info routing table all to verify our routing table. And you can see this time we are receiving route with R, and R is called what? It's RIP. So we are receiving 1.1.1 information via 200, 210, and this is AD value. If you remember RIP AD value, 120. So we are receiving route from R1.R1, we are receiving route from R2. Clear, everyone? How to configure RIP?
Yes.
So
Yes.
guys, you can click on apply, you can advertise your network, you can click on apply, done. But in case if you want to configure more option in RIP, in case, so you can click on interface now, say interface create new. So if you remember in season routing and switching, we have a concept is called passive interface. It's a common topic for RIP, for EIGRP, for OSPF. Remember passive interface? Passive interface is a command. You can use passive interface. Wait. So passive interface is a command. It's a command. We can use passive interface option in RIP, in EIGRP, in OSPF. Same passive interface we can configure in OSPF. Concept story is same. I'm telling you how to configure it. So you can select your interface. You can select, for example, port number 7, and you can just enable passive interface option. Done. You can click on OK. Now you can implement authentication. It's called routing protocol authentication. So if you remember in CCNA, if you remember, we have authentication concept. It's a common topic. Authentication. We have two type of authentication. It's called simple password authentication and MD5 authentication. Remember, guys, RIP and OSPF, it supports simple password authentication and MD5 authentication. But if you talk about EIGRP and BGP, they will only support MD5 authentication. But RIP and OSPF, they will support MD5 and what simple password authentication. So you can implement here. See, if you enable, you will get both options, simple password and MD5. See, if you enable, what we have, simple password, clear text, and what, MD5. If you want to configure authentication, you can, no problem. You can just enable, you can set your password, done. Now, you can click on advanced option. You can click on advanced option. In case if you want to change default metric, remember RIP always work with hop count. So in case if you want to change your hop count value, you can change it. In case if you want to inject any default route in RIP, yes, you can just enable. And now remember in RIP, we have timers. We have timers, guys. Update timer, flush timer. Same option we have, see, update, timeout, garbage, we can change. And in case if you want to redistribute any dynamic routing protocol or any routing method in RIP, you can. What is redistribution? Akansha, any idea? What is redistribution? Richard, what is redistribution? Muzammil? Tariq, what is redistribution? In redistribution, we can exchange different routing protocol information with each other. Okay, it's a CSNA topic. So for example, here we have 3 routers. In between R1 and R2, I'm using protocol RIP. In between R2 and R3, I'm using protocol OSPF. If you want to exchange different routing protocol information with each other, you need to configure redistribution. Clear my point, Tariq?
Yes,
Yes,
Akansha?
redistribute
clear.
routes in different protocols.
Different routing protocol information. So yes,
Yep.
this option is concept from CSNA, and here you can implement on fortinet. See, you can just enable. For example, I want to distribute OSPF protocol. You can just enable and click on apply. Done. So this is our RIP configuration. Is that clear, Muzammil? Any question, Muzammil? Richard,
Yes,
any
yes,
question? Akansha, any question?
Oh, it's clear.
Okay, Tariq, any question?
No, straightforward.
Okay, now we can discuss OSPF and BGP. Not today. Tomorrow, same time. Okay, everyone. Let's continue our routing section tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Yes,
Take
sir.
care. Good night, everyone.
Okay, sir.
Thank
Good
you
night,
very much.
everyone.
Good
Good
night,
night.
everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.